In today's video, I'm going to show you how to use the vivid light mode to paint the light, transparency, and the detailed edges, and even more. So stay tuned. Hello everyone and welcome to this video. My name is Nauri Radwan. I am the concept artist for this channel and you are tuned to photomanipulation.com. Before I start the video, I just want to thank you all for the support that you gave me in the last video. It was very overwhelming going through all of your comments. It really made my day. And for that, ladies and gentlemen, I have a very spicy tutorial for you today. As I will be going through the process of me using the vivid light mode to paint the light, dress transparency, and the detailed edges. I will also be giving you an extra tip on how to paint the rim lights on the hair. By the way, I made this artwork for the Power Pose Challenge, organized by photomanipulation.com. If you would like to know more about this challenge, I will leave the video of my co-team member, Dean Samed, where he explains all of the things that you need to know about this challenge. The link is going to be down in the description. And without any further ado, let's start with the tutorial. The first thing you need to do before we start with the tutorial is go to Edit menu and then go to Keyboard Shortcuts. Go to the Layer option and look for this shortcut. Let me just find it. This one right here, it says Bring to Front and Send to Back. What you want to do here is set a shortcut for both these two right here, or maybe just this one because we need it. For me, I chose this shortcut. Whatever shortcut you are going to use, just make sure it's not already in use with the other options or the other tasks. And then click on Accept and then click OK. So basically what this shortcut is going to do is when you click on the layer and then you click on that shortcut, it's going to bring it to the top. Let me just change the language. As you can see, it took the layer from this place to this place at the very top. Now that's out of the way, I'm going to explain how the masks work, because I realized in my latest video a lot of you didn't understand the way I replaced the masks. So I'm going to put this black background and then let's add a circle. Let's add this one. Okay, so we have this circle on this black background and I'm going to work on a new mask. So I'm going to choose the white color or the white shade and I'm going to paint, let's say, on this area right here. And I want to use this paint that I just did as a mask for this blue circle. I want this blue circle only to be visible or shown in this white areas that I just paint. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another black background beneath this white paint, this white stroke that I just did, and I'm going to merge it with the paint, and now we have it as one layer. What you are going to do now is click on Ctrl A. That will select the whole canvas. If this shortcut doesn't work for you, just go to Select and click on All. Now that is selected, click on Ctrl C, that's to copy, or go to Edit and then click on Ctrl C here, right here, copy. And let's hide this layer and then let's go to the circle layer, add a mask. And as you can see, this is the mask that we just added. Click and hold Alt and then click on the mask. Now we are inside the mask. Go to Select and select all, or just click Ctrl A and then click Ctrl V, that's to paste. Or you can just go to Edit and click Paste, Ctrl V. As you can see, the blue circle is only shown in this place that we painted. If we have two layers, let's say that I have this blue circle and this yellow circle, and I want to copy the mask from this layer to this layer. All you want to do is just click and hold Alt, click on the mask and drag it to the other layer. And as you can see, we have two layers in the same mask. Now that these two instructions out of the way, let's start with the tutorial. And that is the vivid light on the mask. I will show you how I painted the light, this rim light on the horse, also on the model face, the model hair, and the model dress. And also I'm going to show you how I made dress transparent in these areas right here. And also I'm going to show you how I used it in placing this, let's say, this creeks or this grounds and this grass right here. Let's start with the horse rim light. Let me just go to the horse group, and I'm going to hide these two layers and this one. And as you can see, the horse now doesn't have the rim light. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click on the horse layer, and let me just name it horse so I don't get lost. And let's duplicate the layer of the horse. That's by clicking and holding Alt and then drag it to the bottom. Now we have the horse copy. I'm going to click the shortcut for bringing the layer to the top. And now we have the horse layer at the very top. I'm going to add an empty layer beneath it, and I'm going to fill it with black. That's by clicking on Shift F5. That will bring this fill menu, and make sure the contents is on black. The blending mode is normal, the opacity at 100%, and uncheck this option right here and click OK. Now we have this black background. Let's merge it with the horse. Now we have it as a one layer, and now click on Shift Control U. That will turn the image to black and white. Now let's zoom on the horse right here. Click the brush tool and choose the soft brush. Turn the blending mode to vivid light and the flow to around, maybe leave it on 100 or 90%. And what you want to do now, and what you are going to do now is just paint on the horse, and make sure to prevent the rim light areas from the painting. So just paint on the middle. And the reason why I like to use the vivid light is because it gives you this detailed edges instead of a soft blurred edges when you use the soft brush. And also when you paint on the hair, it gives you this nice texture in the edges. After you finish with the rim light, make sure not to leave these edges very harsh. Instead, go to the mode and change it to hard light and start to paint on the edges, so we give it just a bit of feather or smoothness. And as you can see, it gives us a very good results of painting the rim light. Now we are going to use this image as a mask. Let me just fix these areas. To use it as a mask, as I said before, click on Ctrl A to select the canvas. Make sure it's one image. Click Ctrl C to copy. And then let's go to the horse and let's add an exposure adjustment layer. Let's enter the exposures mask by clicking and holding Alt and then clicking on the mask. Select the whole canvas and click Ctrl V to paste. Now let's click on the exposure adjustment layer and let's add exposure. As you can see right here, it's adding the light to the areas that we painted on the vivid light on the image. We don't want it to be very harsh, just a bit. And now let's give it color, and that's by adding levels adjustment layer. Change the mode to color blending mode and copy the mask from the exposure adjustment layer to the levels. Replace the mask, click yes, and then go to the red channel and let's add a value of 1.5. As you can see, it added some of the red color. And let's go to the blue and add the value of 0.5. That will add the yellow color. And let's go to the green and let's put 0.9. That will add the magenta color, or 0.8. As you can see, it gives us the color for the light. Maybe 0.5 right here. If you feel the color is too saturated, you can decrease the opacity, and if you feel like it's less saturated, then you can add the values from here. Now add a new empty layer and change the blender mode to screen. Choose the soft brush, turn the blender mode to normal, or let's say the mode, not the blender mode. The flow, let's take it to all the way down to 5%. Sample a color from the rim light and paint on the edges just like that. Change the brush size every time you get in a thin area, and to change the size of the brush, click and hold Alt, the right mouse button, and move the mouse to the left and right. Every time you get closer to the bright areas, change the size of the brush. And this is how I added the rim lights for the horse. I would like to stop the video right here to tell you about my digital landscape reloaded course. If you want to know more on how I make my artworks and explore more tips and tricks and learn more advanced techniques. Also, if you want more in-depth explaining and full-length tutorials, then you must get my digital landscape reloaded course. The link is going to be down in the description, and let's continue with the video. Now let's move to the model dress. Here I have a backup for the model just in case I mess up the model. And I'm going to take the model new backup layer to the top, and that's by clicking on the shortcut that I just created in the beginning of the video. I'm going to add a black background and the model layer. Merge them together and change the and then click on Shift Control U. That's to change the to turn the image to black and white. Now what you are going to do here is go back to the model layer and click and hold Control and then click on the layer, and that will select the model. Because when you chose the vivid light and you start to paint outside of the model areas, it's going to give you this result right here. As you can see, this results that we don't want, so make sure you select the model before you start painting. I'm going to use the gradient tool, the transparent one, and I'm going to use the reflective mode, the reflected gradient, and I'm going to change the opacity to 55%, and I'm going to paint on the middle areas. Make sure the mode is on vivid light. And then let's use the soft brush and start paint on the areas that we don't want it to be transparent. Then use the levels menu. That's by clicking Ctrl L. That's by clicking Ctrl L and move the slide of the midtones to the right side. Make sure not to go too far and click OK. And then using the brush, start to paint on the edges. So the great thing about the vivid light, it just gives you this textured, detailed edges when you paint. Now I'm going to use this as the mask, and I'm going to click Ctrl A to select the canvas, Ctrl C to copy it, and then I'm gonna go to the model. I'm going to create a new backup and hide the model layer. And now we have the model but without the transparent dress. Let me just delete these highlights, these spotlights. Now let's add a mask to the model. Let's enter the mask and let's Ctrl A to select the canvas and then Ctrl V to paste. When you go back to the model, now it's only these areas that are shown. And as you can see, let me just hide the screen layer of her. And as you can see, this is the areas of the dress that we have. Click on the mask and then click Ctrl I to inverse the mask. Now we have it inversed. You can see there is the transparency in her dress. And if you want to make it more transparent, click on Ctrl L and slide this point to the right side. That will give it more transparency. For layers like this, and let's say I want to take this area from this image, what I do first is, I take the lock, remove the lock, and then I select this area that I want with the lasso tool. And then I go to select, click and hold shift, and then click on this option right here, select and mask. Then I add radius all the way up to the middle, and I add feather and contrast. And I start to tweak the radius to get a good results. And let me just take this area from the mask, and let's do the steps again. Okay, so I'm satisfied with this result. Now the mask is on this area. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this icon right here, make a mask from this selection, and I'm going to duplicate the layer by clicking and holding Alt and take it to the top. I'm going to apply the mask on this image, and I'm going to add a black background, and I'm going to merge them together, and I'm going to turn it to black and white by clicking Shift Ctrl U, and that will turn it to black and white. I'm going to select the mask from this. I'm going to select the area from this mask by clicking and holding Ctrl and then clicking on the mask. Change the color to white and make sure it's on vivid light, and paint on these areas from the bottom. Then change the color to black and paint on the areas above. And then change the blender mode to hard light and start to give it some of the featherness or the smoothness at the top. Now I'm going to use this image as the mask for the layer right here. That will give me this detailed transition. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide this layer, and I'm going to apply the mask here. I'm going to go back to this layer, click Ctrl A to select the canvas, Ctrl C to copy, add a mask, click and hold Alt to enter the mask, click Ctrl A to select the canvas, and then Ctrl V to paste it. And that will give me this detailed transition on the edges. I'm going to apply the mask, and then I'm going to copy the layer or the this layer right here. I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to the image. Let's go all the way up and paste it by clicking Ctrl V. And as you can see, we have this nice transition, and I'm going to rescale it and put it on an area that I want. And then when I fix the values and I fix the color, this image will be blended very well with the rest of the image. And that's because we have this nice transition between this layer and the rest of the image. And by the way, I believe this layer right here is the same with this one, and this is the same technique that I used. When you place a model in your artwork, you definitely don't want this clean transition between the model dress and the ground, unless you are on a flat surface. But in my case, she is standing on grass, and that means we need some grass to cover her dress. So the way to do it, you have two options. First, let me just find this image of the ground, this layer of the ground that she is standing on. This is the layer of the ground that she is standing on. This is the before. Let me just hide it. And this is the after. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to make a copy of that layer, and I'm going to take it all the way up above all of the layers. And then I'm going to add a black background beneath it on a new empty layer, and I'm going to merge them together. And then I'm going to turn it to black and white. Let me find the area where the model is standing. This is the area right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint white on this area and black on the rest of the image. Take the brush and make sure you are on vivid light and start to paint on that area. And then paint black on the rest of the image. I'm going to use this as a mask for the model dress. So I'm going to select the whole canvas and I'm going to click on Ctrl C and then go back to the model. And because our model already have this mask of the transparent dress, and in case, let's say, you don't want to apply it, first you can apply it, rasterize the layer and then apply the mask and then add the new mask of the paint that we just did. That's by entering the mask, click on Ctrl A to select the canvas, Ctrl V to paste it, and then Ctrl I to invert the mask. And then we have some grass going into her dress and it's too sharp. If you want to decrease the sharpness, just click on the mask, go to the feather and add some of the feather, and that will fix the sharpness problem. But if, in case you don't want to risk applying the transparent dress, what you can do is, let me just get the first mask back. What you can do is add an empty layer and apply the mask of the grass to it. Click Ctrl and hold it and then click on the new mask that we just did. And then click on the model layer and then click on Shift F5. Make sure it's black and click OK. Now we have both the transparent dress and the grass. And if the grass is too sharp, just select it and then go to blur and add blur to it. I used the same technique to paint on the model face, the light reflection on her face. That's by turning everything to black. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to paint the overall light reflection on her dress, or the rim lights and all of that. I'm targeting the face and the hand and the rest of the dress, and some of her shoulder. I'm going to paint black on her eyes, and then I'm going to change the blending mode to hard light and make it soft or smooth. Let's go back to vivid light and I'm going to paint on this area. And I'm going to paint on the hair. And about the hair light reflection, I'm going to give you an extra tip at the end of the video. I'm going to use this as a mask for her light. So I'm going to click Ctrl A to select the whole canvas. Let me just hide all of these layers, and I'm going to add a new exposure adjustment layer. Enter the mask and paste the new mask that we just painted. Let's add exposure. And then I'm going to add a new levels adjustment layer set to color blending mode. And I'm going to copy the mask from the exposure layer. Make sure it's on color, and then go to the red channel and add a red color. Just like we did with the horse. Actually, I like less yellow color, so I'm going for 0.1. So I'm going for 0.85, 0.7. Yeah, this one I like better. And this is how I painted the light for the model. And of course, I had the screen blending mode layer, and if you want to know more about that, make sure to watch my latest video. Even though I really don't think it's necessary, because the layer that we just did with the painting with the vivid light is already doing a great job with the lighting. So if we just add an empty layer set to screen blending mode, and we do just like we did with the horse, using the soft brush normal mode, 5% flow, and then sample areas from the dress and start to paint with big size brush. And every time we get closer, we change the size of the brush to small, and we start to paint. That's just to give it the flare effect. I feel like the light is too bright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a channel mixer adjustment layer and apply the same mask to it, set it to color blending mode, and then add the red from here, and then the yellow from this blue channel, as you can see. And if you feel like the color is too saturated, go to the opacity and decrease it to around 50% maybe. Now with the hair, I have this technique. So what you want to do first is add an empty layer, go back to the model layer and click Ctrl and hold it, and then click on the layer to select it. Now get the brush, but first let me just delete the other one, the old one. Now with this empty layer, I'm going to clip it to the model, and I'm going to select a color from her light reflection, and I'm going to paint on the hair. Make sure it's to increase the flow. I'm going to paint on the hair, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going back to the model layer. I'm going to select it, and I want a nice edge of the hair, and I'm going to take this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to deselect all of the other areas but this one, and that's by clicking and holding Alt, and then this will deselect the areas that I chose. Okay, so we just want this one. Let me just make sure it's the only one selected. Okay. Now with the new layer that we painted the color on, add this selection as a mask, but not with the selection on the area that we just painted. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the right mouse button, and I'm going to click on transform selection, and I'm going to take this area right here, and then I'm going to add it as a mask. Now if you enter the mask, you can see the hair is on this point. This is the white area. Everything that we paint on this layer is going to be only visible on this area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click Ctrl-I to inverse it, and now all of the mask is visible but this area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click Ctrl and then select this area, but if we go back, you can see that I selected the whole area but this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click, and now I'm going to click the right mouse button and click select inverse. Now I'm selecting this area that is supposed to be black, and I'm going to click on the mask. Click on this tool right here, the move tool. Click and hold Alt and move that selection. As you can see, it takes that black color from this area and drag it to this area. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click Ctrl T, that's the free transform, and then I'm going to click warp, and then I'm going to replace the hair mask as I want. And let's say I want it like that. Click on the move tool to apply the transform, and what you're going to do, click here, and what you are going to click here is Control L, that will bring the levels menu, and then add fade to that black area by dragging this point to the right side, maybe like that. And then I'm going to take another mask from her hair, maybe this area right here. Click on the mask and fill that area with black color, and make sure it's still selected. Then go to the move tool, make sure you are clicking on the mask, and then drag it to the hair areas. Click Ctrl T and flip it on the horizon line, and let's drag it and place it on a nice area that's supposed to give us smooth transition from the rim light to her hair. And to duplicate it, just click on the move tool and then click and hold Alt and move it to the top. With the Ctrl T warp, just move it like that. And we're supposed to get this smooth transition of her hair. I did a good job on this area, but this area I didn't. You can take your time and take the mask all the way up here. The next step is click 2 times on that layer, and then with this blend if technique, click and hold Alt and drag this point to the left side and this one to the right side, just to restore some detail and some texture. And then also you can always add an empty layer set to screen blending mode. Choose the color from her hair and start to paint over it with a 3% flow maybe. You can go up to the 5, it's up to you at this point. This is the end of this tutorial. I hope you got value from this video. If you did get value from this video, show us that by clicking on the like button. Also subscribe to the channel and follow us on our social medias. Also, if you want to know more about the techniques that I mentioned in this video, make sure to go and watch my latest video on how to paint the atmospheric light. Also, if you want to see more tutorials like this, make sure to get my digital landscape reloaded course. The links are going to be down in the description. I will see you in the next tutorials. Peace.